Good afternoon. Welcome to our Tuesday Q&A with the family support team at the St. Louis ARC. I'm Sharon Spurlock, and I'm really excited today because we have had big changes in the services we offer in our day programs, and Megan Favazza is with us today to talk about that. Without further ado, Megan, I always like to start with introductions and telling people a little bit about your journey with the St. Louis ARC, what your role is now, and what roles you may have had other than that.
Okay, well, good afternoon, everyone. I'm very happy to be here. As Sharon said, my name is Megan Favazza. I am the director of our day services here at the St. Louis ARC. I actually started with the St. Louis ARC in 2004 in our day program in North County. So I started in a direct support role. From then on, I did some administration and documentation in a role. Then I moved into a coordinator position. And then I moved away for a few years, but like many people, I couldn't stay away for long, and I came back to the St. Louis ARC. And when I did, I stepped into the director role, and I have been in that role since 2008. And we have undergone quite a few changes in day services in that time. We've about doubled in size. When I started, we had 4 locations, and we currently have 9. So we have more than doubled in size and doubled in number of people we serve, which is really wonderful. And that's what I'm going to be talking about today.
Talk a little bit about when folks might want to be considering day program services.
So people can enter into a day program really at any point in their life's journey. A lot of individuals will start looking at a day program when they are ready to graduate from high school. However, I do want to specify that these programs are for adults that we are talking about, so 18 and up. But we also have folks transition into day programs sometimes after retiring from working for a period of time. We have some folks that like working, but maybe 5 days a week is too much, so they work a few days and come to program a couple days. We have other individuals that have done other things and would like to transition into a day program. So there's no set time that you would have to transition in. And we also have different offerings for different stages of your life. So that can really go along with what you were looking for at that time. But really, anybody 18 and up is potentially eligible to join into our programs. All right, so I'm going to be talking about the day services options we have here at the St. Louis ARC. We actually have 3 distinct programs now, which is different in the past. We used just to call it day program, or you may have heard it called CE in the past, but we've really kind of branched out and created a couple different programs for different audiences. And those programs are our community engagement program. You may have heard that called community integration in the past. It is now called community engagement. Our Aging with Empowerment program, and our Learning Independence for Tomorrow program, and that's our newest. We are coming up on our 1-year anniversary. We opened that in February of 2021. So each program, there's a lot that they have in common and some things that are different, but what's a commonality between all of the programs really are our goals and values. They are all community-based programs. How often people spend or how the length of time in the community can vary program to program, but they are all community-based. They all work on fostering inclusion with the community, with their loved ones, natural supports. We focus heavily on outcome achievement and growth. So every single person in every single one of our programs are going to set some very specific goals for themselves and what they want to get out of this program. And that's going to guide the activities that we do. We get out, we have a lot of fun, but we're always also working on some very specific goals. So there's a deeper level of meaning to what we're doing as well. And we offer small support ratios in all of our programs. They vary from program to program, but the most you'll see is typically a 1-to-3 average ratio. So for a quick reference, I'm going to show you this one pager, which shows you all of our 3 programs and kind of shows you exactly how they're the same, how they're different, but I'll also do a deep dive into each one of them. So our community engagement program is kind of our most active. Those are best for people who love to be out in the community on a daily basis and for a very good portion of their day. Of the 6-hour day, you're going to be spending between 4 and 5 hours out in the community. We have our Aging with Empowerment program that is geared towards seniors, although what constitutes a senior can be a little bit flexible. So we really look more towards energy level and what people want to get out of the program. So we get out every day usually as well, but maybe for shorter periods of time, maybe for 1 to 2 hours at a time, build in more opportunities for some rest, more interest exploration. We also work on a lot of memory care supports in that program, as it is designed to support older individuals, and have a little bit more opportunity to provide more intensive medical supports in that program as well. And then the Learning Independence for Tomorrow program is designed for individuals that have some behavioral support needs. This program is designed to be a transition program, so we hope that you won't stay in it forever, but that folks can come in, really do some intensive skill development, skill building, kind of work through whatever barriers might keep them from a traditional job or a more traditional day program, work through those, and then move on to something else. We purposefully did not set a set time period that people had to leave in that program, because we know that's really going to vary. So we have some folks that have been with us about 6 months and are getting close to being ready to move on. We have others that's probably going to be several years, and that's perfectly okay. So you can see our age range is 18 plus for everybody except for our Aging with Empowerment program. That's older adults. What older looks like to you and me can be flexible. And our support ratios are a little bit different. They're 1-to-1 to 1-to-4 in our community engagement and Aging with Empowerment, although the average is 1-to-3. And then in Learning Independence for Tomorrow, those folks will need a little bit more intensive and focused support. So we either do 1-to-1 or 1-to-2 in that program, and no more than that. So to get into a little bit of an overview of our community engagement program, which I just started talking about, we do support adults with developmental disabilities to get out in the community every single day, with rare exceptions. If the weather's really crummy or something else is going on that's really exciting, that's site-based, but pretty much we are going to be out on a daily basis. While we're out, we generally do a mix of leisure, volunteer, and educational activities. How much of each is going to be up to the individual and what they want to get out of the program. So some folks might be focused on maybe getting a job down the line, and we'll focus more on volunteerism or working on some soft skills. Other folks might work on more social recreational goals, or you can do a mix of everything. So really what you want and need, we can really individualize and tailor. But as we said, everybody sets some very specific goals, and that's what's going to guide the activities we do. Even if we're doing something fun, like going to a Cardinals game, we could still be working on budgeting for that overpriced hot dog and soda, or patience while waiting in line, or whatever else you might be working on within your day. We have 5 locations in the St. Louis area. We are in the Central West End, Creve Coeur, Hazelwood, Maplewood, and Town and Country. So we are in kind of most corners of St. Louis. Most people choose to go to the site that's closest to where they live. You do not have to do that. All of the same programs have the same, all of the programs have the same basic structure, but there are different people, different personalities at each site. So you might find that you fit in more or enjoy one more than the other, and you're welcome to attend that. I do want to put in the caveat that if you are looking to get transportation funded through the Department of Mental Health, they're usually only going to transport a certain number of distance from your home. So if you want to go a little further, you can, but you might have to get yourself to and from that program. And as we said, participants usually begin and end their day at the site, but a majority of the time is out and about. It's a very active program. We are on the go. Even though we do have a program for older individuals, there's no age limit. We have some folks in their late 70s in that program, and they have more energy than I do or any of the 20-year-olds, so they can keep going to that one. So you certainly don't ever have to age out. But if this program is getting to be a little much, or we also offer the Aging with Empowerment program.
Hey, Megan.
Yeah.
I just want to ask a quick question about community engagement before we go on to AWE.
Absolutely.
So you talked about individualizing goals, and it's been really fun for me now that we have hub locations where some of the C programs are. I've gotten to see them recently, and I noticed how many people had individual activities that they really were taking responsibility for. Can you talk about kind of how you help people figure out what their goals are and pursue those goals?
Absolutely. So everybody in our program works on something called an individualized support plan, or an ISP. And some of you may know that funders, which is for us, the Department of Mental Health, takes responsibility for writing that plan, but we also work really hard to make sure that the people we support have a voice and a say in what that plan looks like, what those goals are. And at all of our programs within and including AWE and the LIFT program and CE, we have a position called an outcome specialist, and their role is to work directly with the individuals to talk to them about what those goals are and to explore that with them. What would you like to get out of this program? And if the answer is, I don't know, then we're going to spend some time figuring that out together. Or if the person knows exactly what they want to do, we're going to spend time figuring out what could that look like in the program. So helping them take those initial goals and dreams and then putting that into something concrete that we can work on while we're here at program. We can also add in goals that they're working on at home and doing other pieces, so we can tie that all together as well. We will do some different assessments with people, but most of it's a little bit more casual and sitting down and just having a conversation or watching the individual while they're doing their activities in the community and picking up on, and then you said you didn't know what you like to do, but gosh, you seem to have a lot of fun whenever we go to karaoke. Do you want to talk about that a little bit more? Are you interested in doing other types of performing and picking up on those pieces? Individuals don't have to communicate in a traditional way to share that with us. People in our programs communicate in all sorts of different ways, and I always say we will meet you where you're at. So if they want to share what they're interested in and their goals by pointing to pictures, by using a talker, an iPad, body language, gestures, traditional verbal communication, however that is, we will work with you to find out what you like to do, to learn a little bit more, to ask some questions and dig into what is interesting for the individual. Also, a piece about those goals is if someone is really excited about doing a goal and we put it in their plan and we start working on it and it turns out they do not enjoy that one bit, we do not have to keep working on that for the rest of the year. We can always throw that out. We can always start over. We can always add new goals. Those ISP documents are living, breathing documents that can change at any point throughout the year. It's not a problem to do that. We will revisit them at least once a year, but we can certainly do that more often. I hope that answers your question about the goals. But like I said, that is a piece of all of our programs. We focus on those goals in everybody's program. So moving on to the Aging with Empowerment program. This program started in 2017 and was really a product of the fact that we had community engagement sites for quite some time, and we had some individuals really aging in place with us in those programs. And at some point they were starting to express to us that they enjoyed coming to program, they liked what they did there, but they weren't necessarily enjoying spending 6 hours a day with people in their early 20s. They were like, this is not my peer group. So we designed a program that was really geared towards them. So we focus on supporting older adults. How does that differ between our community engagement program? We give them flexible start and end times. So for some individuals aren't so great in the morning, they can come in a little bit later. Others like to start bright and early, but after lunch, they're kind of done. So we give them the opportunity to really kind of set what their daily schedule looks like. We have varied support ratios so that if some people can be fine in a group in the community, but really need one-on-one support while they're eating because of a medical need, we can do that. We provide opportunities to develop friendships, get out in their community. We absolutely focus on community access. Like I said, it may not be 5 hours a day. It's going to be whatever makes sense for the person and the people in their group. And also we spend a lot of time with informed memory care, mobility, and medical supports because those support needs become a little bit more intense as some individuals age. The idea is to keep people engaged as long as possible so that they can stay in their natural environment as long as possible, because we know that that really assists with positive aging outcomes. We have 3 Aging with Empowerment locations in the St. Louis area now. We have Creve Coeur, which was our original location, and that is located near the Dawtell Circle area. One in Hazelwood, and then our newest one is in Maplewood, and that also opened in February of 2022. As you can see, I've got a few pictures here of what the sites look like. It's really important because all of our sites were designed with dementia-capable design. And there's a lot of components and research went into that. But what that is you can see you've got some really bold colors on the wall and some really solid colors on the floor, so that it's easier for individuals experience some forms of dementia to navigate their own environment. And this really helps them increase their own independence. They don't have to depend on staff to help them get around, because it's designed to be very clear and easy for them to navigate. And all of our Aging with Empowerment program sites are set up in the same way. You can see some dementia capable signage as well. Just make it crystal clear. An example I like to give, if you see that restroom sign, most universal restroom signs are of a man and a woman, not a toilet. They're just of people, which doesn't always make sense when you're thinking about a restroom. So we just made it extra clear. If you need to find the toilet, here is a picture of the toilet outside of where that is. So just small things like that, and those tweaks have really made it a little bit easier for individuals to navigate. All right, and our newest program is called Learning Independence for Tomorrow, which from now on I will call LIFT, because it's a mouthful to say Learning Independence for Tomorrow over and over. And this is the program that I was speaking about earlier that is focused on supporting individuals who require some additional behavior supports. We really focus on supporting these individuals to build skills, to decrease any maladaptive behaviors in order to participate in a less behaviorally focused day program or pursue employment in the future. So the goal is to develop those skills and then move on to something else. Again, we spend time on site and in the community. We volunteer in this program as well. We offer pre-vocational training, opportunities for community-based leisure activities, training on social skills, communication, which is huge, and emotional regulation as needed, again, on an individual basis. So what people need and how that's going to look for their program will vary a little bit. We do focus heavily on communication because we know that's at the root of most behaviors that we would consider kind of undesirable, is giving them different ways to communicate that in a way that would be a little bit more appropriate. This site is located in our Maplewood location. You may have heard Maplewood said a lot. That is one of our area hubs. So within our Maplewood location, we offer a community engagement site, the LIFT site, and an Aging with Empowerment site. And we also have some other ARC programs that operate within that location. So there's always a lot going on and a lot of opportunities to explore and access ARC services through that location. Another hub site is in our North County area. We have a community engagement site and an Aging with Empowerment site that are next door to each other, which is nice. So those individuals get a chance to socialize with their peers. So we have folks that have said, I'm ready to move on from community engagement to our AWE program, but I still have some friends I'd like to see on a regular basis. So they might go over and have lunch with them or do an activity in the community. So we don't have to disrupt those long-term relationships, even if somebody does choose to change what their daily program looks like. Some features of our LIFT program physically are we have a nice big large open space. We also have a sensory room that was designed by an occupational therapist. So we have a lot of great opportunities for people to engage in sensory activities or to use it to kind of get away from too much sensory overload happening within the programs. That site's really fun. We have a variety of seating options. We know a lot of folks just sitting still is not comfortable for them. So we have bouncy balls, we have wobble seating, we have crash pads or anything else anybody would like, lots of exercise equipment to help individuals who need to move or get out energy while they are at the site. But like I said, we don't have to spend all day there as well. We get out in the community, but we're going to meet folks where they're at. Some folks in that program, getting out in the community for 30, 45 minutes is about it when they first start, and that's okay. Conversely, if you're looking at the community engagement program, we would expect individuals to want to be out at least 3 to 5 hours during the day. So that is one thing to look at, is that amount of time in the community when you are kind of trying to decide which program might be right for your loved one, is really thinking about how much do they like to be on the go? How much do they want to be in the community? How flexible are they with those small group supports as well? Because in community engagement and all, we're working in groups of 3 typically. So there's a little give and take of what your day looks like. You're going to plan your day with those individuals, but there's sometimes a little compromise. In the LIFT program, it's 1-to-1 or 1-to-2. So there's definitely more opportunity for the individuals to have more say within their day, and we can be more flexible. If we get somewhere and it's just really not working for them, we can move on to a different activity.
you're leading me into my question, which is if I'm a family member and I think a day program, any day program, whether it's the ARCs or not, is going to be the best option for my family member when they get out of school. What are some of the things I can do to make them best prepared to make that transition?
So here are some of the things we recommend that people work on, and that can be in school or any other life stage of when you're preparing to transition into a day program. Please know you don't have to be independent in any of these areas, but those are areas that the more independent you are, the more flexible your support options might be. So we do look towards working towards maybe independence in eating and drinking and toileting and hygiene and mobility. Again, if the individual is not independent in any of those areas, that is okay. We can still provide supports. However, those supports might have to look a little different. You might need smaller group supports or one-on-one supports, and that changes kind of what your wait time would look like, or maybe what program you're targeting. Same for communication. As much as possible, we want the people in our program to have as much autonomy over their day as possible, meaning we want them to pick and choose where they're going, what they're doing, who they're doing it with. We give them a lot of ideas, some structure to work with, so it's not anything and everything. We give them choices, but we do want to work with them on expressing clear choices. And again, however that looks, that could be an eye gaze towards a picture, pointing at a picture, using a switch to press on, could be using an iPad, the ProLaQuota Go program, could be using a talker they've used at school. Doesn't matter, but we want to work with them on be able to make a choice, because that's just going to set them up for more success when they come to the program. And again, give them more flexibility and options of what they do. We really love to work with or recommend, especially when individuals are in school, that they start practicing a means to communicate with the community at large. So our staff are there, but as much as possible, we are there to obviously provide whatever supports the individuals need. But when it comes to working with the community, we also try to get out of the way a little bit so that we are not intercepting that communication with community members. So if somebody's at a restaurant, we want the individual to order, and we don't need to order for them. And we want them to order in whatever way they typically communicate. But we do like to kind of recommend that folks start to transition into communication devices that are a little bit easier to take out in the community. So for example, a Dynavox is large and bulky and it's expensive, and if you drop it, it's a problem. So working in those last years of schools, can we transition to an iPad where everyone has an iPad in the community? That's perfectly acceptable. It's easy, it's lightweight. If you drop it, it's not a big deal, but you can still use that as a communication device and a way to communicate with the community at large. And the community understands what that is, so they know how to communicate back using that same device. And that's what I mean by that use of communication devices that are portable and non-intrusive. And again, behavioral supports, we can provide behavioral supports at our sites, but the less support you need there, the more flexibility and the more day program options you might have available to you. And in terms of behavioral support, we get this question a lot. How much is too much? What does that look like? What we say is, because our programs are community-based, as long as people have a desire to spend some amount of time in the community, we can meet you there. If you do not at all, or the community is just not a happy place for you, then our programs may not be right for you. Because if you need an environment that's 100% structured and controlled all day long, well, we can't guarantee what's going to happen in the community or so we can't control those environments entirely.
I think that's sometimes the most confusing thing
Yeah.
for families. They think of behavior as being something external that the person is doing to somebody else or to another thing, but sometimes refusal and lack of interest in anything can also be really problematic to be able to participate in the day program, because especially if you're in a group, if the group's going out and you don't want to go, then we're really at an impasse. So I'm really glad you brought that up.
Yeah, and that again doesn't mean we can't provide that support, but we might have to provide you support one-on-one. And I will say, I like to make it pretty clear, our wait list for one-on-one supports are significantly longer than they are for group supports. We only have a certain number of spots for one-on-one, and those people tend to just stay with us long term. So there's not a lot of turnover in those spots. So anything you can do to prepare the individuals to potentially be supported in a small group is going to give them more opportunity, less of a wait, more flexibility in what they can access in our day program. Doesn't mean we can't do it though. It just means the wait might be longer. I'm going to scooch back to one other thing I'd like to talk to you all about, and that is the intake process. We do love for folks to contact us as much as possible through using this email link right here, which is dsintake@slark.org, because that's going to give you an automatic, instantaneous response with lots of information about our day programs so that you can get all the information you need at your fingertips. From there, there's also going to be a link for a little bit more information. There's a quick form that we ask you to fill out to give us a few details. And then someone from our day services department will give you a call and talk to you about what your needs. And that's where we'd have that conversation around which program might be the best fit. What are you looking for? What does the individual want and need from a program? What do they need in terms of the type of staff? All of that good stuff so that we can direct you towards the right program to come and visit. After that, you would come to tour at least one of our locations. You can tour more than one if you'd like. And then from there, if you're interested, we would offer a trial process. And that is the opportunity for the individual to fully experience the program. They spend some time at the site, in the community, supported by our staff, so we know that we can safely support them, that we can give them a good quality program. We take a ton of data that we're going to share with you so that we as a team, which includes you and the individual, can decide if it's a good fit and appropriate for you. And then we meet and we talk about it, and we would go from there. And we would also can assist you with the funding side of things. And I'm not sure we have time to get into that. If we do, I can talk about it, but otherwise we can certainly, if you have any questions, you can send an email to that address and we will get those funding questions answered for you as well.
I do want to talk a little bit about medical support needs and assistance with
Stop sharing,
changing adult diapers, all that kind of thing. So those are things that you can consider for anybody. But again, are there certain medical things that you can't support? Like, I know we're not able to take somebody that requires an insulin injection because we don't have the medical background to do something like that. Are you able to support people that use feeding tubes or that have colostomies or any of that kind of stuff?
Yes. So our answer is almost always come talk to us and you will meet with our nurse. We do have a nurse for our day programs, and her job is to decide exactly that. Is this a task that she can train our staff to do safely? If the answer is yes, we can provide that support. If she doesn't feel that it would be safe for non-medical staff to provide with her oversight and training, then that answer would be no. But in general, we can absolutely, and we currently do support people with feeding tubes. We don't currently have anyone with a colostomy bag, but we have in the past, and that is typically something we can do. We can support with suprapubic catheters. We support an individual suctioning. So we are always open to trying that support or to discussing that with our nurse to seeing if there's a safe way for us to do that. And if there's not, then we'll talk to you about some other programs that might be able to provide that support. But we are very flexible with that. And we do have a nurse that's very hands-on, and she will absolutely not let us do that if it's not going to be safe for your loved one. So that is her role and her expertise to say this is or is not going to be a safe experience for the individual. She also oversees and checks up on our staff providing those supports to make sure that it remains a safe practice for the individual. So she does at least monthly oversights, checks in, makes sure she's continually providing ongoing training so our staff are up to date on the latest and greatest on what they need to know to safely provide that support. Hygiene supports, we can do most hygiene supports. We can assist people with training. We have private changing rooms at most of our locations. We have Hoyer lifts, so if somebody is not able to transfer to a table or to something, we can get them lifted and put them on there to provide that level of support. So that's not a problem. And depending on how long that process takes, we support a lot of people with hygiene supports in a group. It's really not a problem. But for some individuals, if it's a very involved process, it might take upwards of 30, 45 minutes to change them. Then we'd look at more individual supports because That's
Mhm.
not going to give the rest of the group the support they need. We don't want to be away from them for that extended period of time. We never leave anyone alone. We'd have to get coverage for those people, but that's a long time for them to be kind of waiting
Yeah,
around while somebody's getting changed. So
that
all of
makes
that we
sense.
look at an individual basis.
I think it's impressive when you talk about like having dementia capable planning in the AW program, and you've talked about the different kinds of ways you're supporting people in the LIFT program. And I'm curious about how you get that expertise into your team, whether your staff are all trained in a certain way, whether you have outside support, because I don't think that's a typical support that people see.
Well, and that is exactly why we've kind of developed these additional programs and really targeted those at a specific audience. So we could, in tandem, beef up our staff's expertise in those areas. So the staff in the Aging with Empowerment program get lots of additional support in dementia care, dementia capable supports. The assistant director of that program is certified in those supports in order to be a train the trainer, so that we can do those trainings in-house and can do them at any time for any new staff coming in. In our LIFT program, all of our staff go through the formal registered behavior technician training. We have 2 staff that are certified registered behavior technicians, or RBTs, but all of the staff go through the exact same training. It's very intensive. It's a 40-hour training, but that allows them the expertise to provide the supports they need in that program. The support in the staff in a community engagement program spend extra time on community development and training around that. So that way, depending on the program you're in, you are getting some expertise on the part of the staff, which is why we kind of direct people in different areas. So they're going to get people who know what they're doing for that target audience. It's a lot of information we just threw at you, and we didn't even touch funding. So I know that can be overwhelming. So please, any questions, you can always reach out to your family supports department, but you can also email us at DS Intake, and we will be happy to chat with you and walk through the process with you, because you can't know it all through 30 minutes of me chatting. So definitely feel free to reach out, and we will take each case person by person and tell you what you need to know.
Well, you segued into my conversation, which is if you're not sure, or if it's fairly early in your family member's journey, start with family support, because as Megan said, she can have a pretty hefty waiting list, and they have a lot of different programs they're managing on a day-to-day basis. So we are here and available for you every day to talk about what's going on and help you plan so that you're ready when the time is right. So work with family support. Use DS Intake at slark.org. Megan, thanks. I learned stuff, and it's always exciting for me. I spent the early part of my career in the day program, so it's always nice for me to see how it's grown, and it's so much more exciting than it was when I was there. So thank you for all the great work that you're doing.